ಗುಡ್ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್. ಸೊ ಫುಲ್ ಖುಷಿಯಾಗಿದ್ದೀರಲ್ಲ? ಇಲ್ಲೇ ನಿದ್ದೆ ಮಾಡ್ರಂಗಿದೆ. ಸೊ ಎಲ್ಲರದ್ದು ಬ್ರೇಕ್ಫಾಸ್ಟ್ ಆಯಿತಾ? ತಮಿಳ್ನಾಡರು, ತೆಲುಗು ಅವ್ರಲ್ಲ ನಿಮ್ಮದು? ಸೊ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಬರೀತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸ್ನ? ಎವ್ರಿ ಒನ್ ಈಸ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್. ದೋಸ್ ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್, ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಯು ರೈಸ್ ಯುವರ್? ಓಕೆ, 24ಗೆ. ಗುಡ್. ಸಿಕ್ಕಾಬಿಟ್ಟು ಅಡ್ವಾನ್ಸ್ಡ್ ಪ್ರಿಪ್ರೇಷನ್. So, what do you want to hear in this session? So, how many days are pending? 30 days. 29 days. Heng ansate? How does it feel? You have only 29 days. Are you very excited, highly motivated, enthusiastic? ಅದು ಉಗುರು ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಕಿತ್ಕೊಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ, ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ. Yeah, so let few more people come and settle down. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ jokes. Right. So I got 5 minutes late today. Usually try to come exactly in the time, on time. ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಾರ್ಡ್ ರೋಡಿಗೆ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಡೈವರ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಇವತ್ತು. ವೈ? ಹೂ ಇಸ್ ಮೋದಿ? No, today is coming as BJP leader, not Prime Minister. Even then half the Bangalore is closed, the roads. ನೀವೇ ಮಾಡಿಸೋದಲ್ಲ, ಆಲ್ IAS IPS ಆಫೀಸರ್ಸ್. ಬಂದರೆ ಸಾಕು ಎದುರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಇವಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಮುಂಚೆ ದೇರ್ ವಾಸ್ ಎ ಟೈಮ್ ವೆನ್ next to Prime Minister there used to be officers. We don't see that now. Have you observed any of his photos? So Prime Minister andre around him there used to be senior IAS officers, IPS. Now distance ಅವರೆಲ್ಲ ಬಾಂಬ್ ಹಾಕ್ಬಿಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಯಾಕೆ ಆ ಥರ? ಅಲ್ಲ, ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸ್ ಶುರು ಮಾಡೋಣ, ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಲೈಕ್ just for 5 minutes warm up session anta ashtane. I know, like there are Modi fans and there are Modi no fans. ಯಾರೋ ಬೈಕ್ ಅಂತ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು. So I used to conduct this session one day before prelims every year. So this year I thought 30 days before prelims, so I should conduct this session because there are a few very important messages that must be given to aspirants, because every year, because I am part of this process, I am a constant here. So you people come and go every year, so many students, right? So some of you succeed, some of you again succeed in life, like in different careers, in different areas of life. But so I, as an observer here, so I have been observing what people are either making mistakes or creating their own solutions. Every year some people come up with some novel, innovative preparation strategy also, right? So the exam is such that every year a fresh talent is infused, fresh energy is brought into the preparation, but at the same time there are few fundamentals, right? So that must be done. So before I proceed, I would like to ask you few questions. What exactly are you doing right now? So as part of your daily preparation for prelims, because 99% in the classroom are giving the preliminary examination 2023. So I would like to know what exactly you are doing, like morning when you wake up, before going to sleep, during that time, what are the things that you are doing? Yeah, like you tell me. Yes.
Revision and CSAT.
Revision of what?
I prepared timetable paper like the important 7 to 9 subjects like economy.
Okay, static subject revision, then
2 days every subject 2 days once
Okay.
Okay, ಈ month full May 28 ಅಷ್ಟರಲ್ಲಿ 2 cycles revision ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂತ.
Okay, in addition to revision, what else? Mock tests. Okay. Previous year questions, mock test. Like on an average, how many mock tests you have given till today? Any numbers, whatever. Like, be honest with yourself. So, how many mock tests you have given so far? 4. Okay. 80. Yeah, you're part of core batch. Very good. 80 core batch. Remember. Then, what about others? 80 ಅಂದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಹೆಂಗಪ್ಪ ಹೇಳೋದು ನಮ್ಮ ನಂಬರ್ಗಳು ಅಂತಂದು. ಸೊ 30, 20, 40, 50, 40, 60, 80, 50, 100 by 100. How many of you given like more than 50 mock tests? Full length or sectional tests? Very good. So 4-5 people I can see. So most of you have given less than 50 mock tests. Okay. So how many more mock tests you are planning to give in the course of next 28 days? How many? 10. Okay. Any ambitious? 30. Very good.
Solving all previous year.
Like all means how many years?
From 10 years.
10 years. Okay. Around 30 plus marks you want to give. Very good. So all full length marks, right? Okay. So what about others in the back? Hey, what is your strategy? Of course you have your own strategy. So I will give around 3-point strategy. Before that I want to know the sample. So what mistakes you may be committing and where you stand with respect to the competition. CSAT, how many CSAT tests you have given? CSAT ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಗು ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಹೆಂಗಿದ್ರು ಫೇಲ್ ಆಗ್ತಿದ್ದೆ. Anyway, I am going to fail. Why should I solve it? So how many? 1. Okay. So you don't tell. Like others. 20. 20 you have given. Very good. How much? 30. Very good. What is your score currently? How much you are scoring? Above 90. Very good. What about others? ಬೇಜಾರಾಗಬೇಡಿ, ಆರಾಮಾಗಿ ಮಾತಾಡಿ. This is a interactive session. It's okay to reveal our weaknesses, loopholes, mistakes. 5. Okay. So I did a session immediately after prelims 22. Did some of you attend? Anyone? ಮತ್ತೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾರಲ್ಲ ಇವತ್ತು. So in that session I told something. Do you remember anything? The beauty of my session is that everybody brings notebook and pen and at the end of the session it's still blank. So nobody notes down anything. They think that their brain is typing down everything. It is putting it into short term memory, long term memory, something like that. But it is in the memory, right? So I talked about 2 important things, that daily practice. So then in the June itself, in the month of June in 2022, I told people start doing start with 30-40 MCQs and at least weekly one CSAT test, full length test. So I think he has done that, like 30 means more or less. Very good. So the intention was that some of you might be feeling right now that your scores may not be good in CSAT, may not be good in paper 1, but whatever you have done so far, forget it. So now I am here to talk about the future, the present. Now I am of the opinion that if you have completed coaching, if you have completed 1 year classes, if you have done at least 1 or 2 times revision of all the basic subjects, right? Even now, if you can really make up your mind, if you can really wake up, if you can really push really hard, next 25 to 28 days, you can still go on to clear prelims. It is possible, right? But the prerequisite, the precondition, I am not talking it to complete fresher year. It is on the assumption that at least you must have completed 1 round of reading all the subject, coaching, or as he was saying, he has made important notes of important topics, that if you have revised, it is still possible, but the solution is kind of unconventional, right? So there is always a resistance, a strong resistance to my kind of solutions, right? So people always want to stay in their comfort zone, do what gives them comfort, right? So what gives you comfort is the notion that you are able to remember content, you are able to retain knowledge when you do multiple revisions. So that gives you comfort, right? So it feels like you remember all articles of the constitution, you remember all national parks, you remember all the rivers and tributaries, and you have memorized which is the west flowing, which is the east flowing. The now cheetah, you have done all the research, right? Kuno National Park, right? So what is special about Kuno National Park? Now if the question is asked on which latitude, longitude it is located, can somebody answer? Rough guess? What? So it is in Madhya Pradesh? Madhyadalli. Northward of Madhya Pradesh. ಆಯಿತು ಯಾವ್ದು ಮಧ್ಯೆ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಎ ರ್ಯಾಂಡಮ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್, ರೈಟ್? So okay, so how much rainfall Kuno National Park receives in a year? 75 to 80 mm? 80 centimeters cm. Okay. So what about the other fauna present there? Fauna. So what fauna is specific to Kuno National Park? Not flora. Fauna I am asking. Oh, I am random question. I am not doing the quiz competition here. Is it right? So there is an intention behind asking this question, right? So what we do is that we read a textbook, right? We take up notes. So what is there in the notes? We read it. So cheetah was introduced because of so and so reason, and something is happening to cheetah, and why cheetah is suitable to that Kuno National Park. You have read all the preconditions and everything. So now when you are doing multiple revision of the same source, basically you are reinforcing the same information again and again, right? The same information is entering your mind, you are trying to remember. Now as somebody who would like to set a question, right? Now I would like to know if you are able to cross connect or interconnect or bring different disciplines together here, right? So I would like to see if you are able to apply basic geography concepts to this particular topic, or basic ecological concept, or basic maybe something related to environment itself. So now I won't ask question as it is, that is there from the source itself, right? So now the very purpose of the examination is to test your ability to think in a multidimensional way, right? So that multidimensional thinking is very essential to solve problem, right? Solve problem for everyone, for every stakeholder, right? Not for one particular stakeholder. So there is a logic behind prelims, why they set question paper like that. So now when you are reading your notes or textbook or any source repeatedly again and again, you are missing out these extra dimensions, right? You won't able to think by yourself unless you have gained bit of extra experience here. You won't able to think yourself, right? So that is the reason why I keep telling people again and again that the best way to gain both knowledge and skill is to by practicing more and more, right? Now on the same national park, if you have solved around, let's say 10 to 15 MCQs, different MCQs, right? A person who is setting the question paper, right, would have linked it with so many things. Maybe somebody would have gone extra thinking and linked with the climate change also. In an hypothetical situation, if climate change, right, consequences becomes reality, what would be the implication for flora and fauna Kuno National Park? Random question, right? So now you should know the basics of climate change, right? You should have read the report, what temperature it is going to increase, what is going to be the impact on the rainfall or on the grassland, right? Whatever it is. So then what will happen to it? Keystone species, right? So you should be able to think it, but by ourselves we don't think it, because that is how we are trained, we are in the race to complete it. The information in front of you, you want to complete it, and then once you complete it, you want to again do it, because you believe that once you remember it, you are going to solve any question on that particular topic. But in the real examination, when you go last 3 years, what is the complaint or feedback we are getting every year? Entire year whatever study is waste, right? That is the feedback we are getting. The question paper was new, like there is no link between what I was studying and the questions that I am getting in the, but the topics, topics are familiar, but you are not able to solve because the options are too close or too what? It's very difficult to infer, because the depth is bit deeper than what you have actually studied in your textbook. So going forward, the number one, right? What you have to do is that, see, when we were preparing, so by default, of course, the papers used to be easy, not like this. So we used to score very high in prelims, me and all your faculties, by default 140, 150. You take a paper on, I am talking about CSAT, I used to be very weak, right? The reason is that every day, at least even 3-4 months before, every day, I used to solve at least 400 questions in a day. Now I know that you don't believe it, but that is, it used to be fun. It used to take only 1 hour to do 100 questions at that time, those questions. So now it may be taking 1.5 hours, maybe, just to glance through the question, just go on ABCD. I used to have a paper, notebook. So it was only full of ABCD, another page ABCD. Morning to evening, just keep solving the question. And absolutely what you didn't know out of these 100 questions. So you have solved 100 questions, let us say 30 questions or 20 questions, you have absolutely no idea about. Only those 20-30 questions I would look, right? And other 60-70 questions, no need to study or look, you already know, you have got it right, by applying some logic or knowledge or whatever it is, So this is one biggest complaint people make, that sir, to solve 100 question it takes 5 to 6 hours, because I have to solve the question paper and then I have to read solutions, I have to make notes out of solution, and then once I make note out of solution, I have to revise the notes, right? That is not the way you actually go forward. Now, at least now is not the time for this. Now you have to give work to brain, mind in such a way that it should be familiar to as diverse dimensions as possible on one particular topic, right? So now luckily you have something called short-term memory now going forward, right? So you have to ensure that you expose your mind to as many concepts and as many dimensions on all these concepts as possible. Your Lakshmikant will not do it. Read it 10 times, even then out of 10 questions it is difficult to score 10 out of 10, right? It's difficult, but the same thing, if you can solve as many questions as possible on particular topic from quality, and you should know which important topics to focus more on, gain more and more depth. So be ambitious. The number one thing you have to do right now going forward is that please stop again and again reading and revising the books. So definitely we have to revise the same source, again no new source, absolutely no new source. Whatever source till now you have prepared, you have been reading, just stick to that source, right? I will come to that second point, but the first point is that you have to change your mind in such a way that morning I told 400 questions, worst case at least do 300 questions, right? So you take one full length paper, right, and never hesitate about scores, never be scared about the scores. I know you are going to score somewhere like 50, 60, 70, 80 random, forget about it. The trend has changed with respect to that also. So there was a time when we used to tell that if you are scoring very good marks in prelims marks, then you are obviously going to crack prelims. Even that notion is also destroyed. That there is no relationship like. people who are scoring 60, 70 are cracking prelims, people who used to score 120, 130 in prelims are failing in prelims, right. Now the paper has become so unpredictable in a sense that your mock test scores are no more indicators of your performance in the real examination. What is going to be the real indicator is that two factor, one is your strong basics, right, the basics of the basics. Usually in the competition what happens when the examination is nearing, because of fear everybody starts focusing in too much of current affairs, too much of so called advanced stuff, forgetting the basics. As exam nears, you have to focus more on basics, the basics, the most basics of economy, polity, geography, environment. So first preference to three subjects, that is polity, economy and environment, followed by science and tech, geography and modern India, right. Ancient, medieval, art and culture you keep it to the last, in the end you can revise, but which are more conceptual, the subjects where concepts are more, ensure that your basics are really strong. There should not be any confusion with respect to understanding what is tropical cyclone or what is temperate cyclone, the very basics, right. You should know exactly the mechanism of cyclone, right. You should know all the ocean currents, what is the difference between cold current or warm current, right, and the concept behind why they flow in certain direction, what is their relationship with the rotation of the earth or earth's magnetism, whatever it is. So and what is the relationship with respect to the world trade, right, the location of ports or the volume of trade. So try to interlink economy with the geography, geography with the polity. So you have to make it fun basically, right. Of course now you don't have time for that, but through questions you can actually do it. So ensure that from today onwards at least 200 to 300. So those who does 400, I can guarantee you are going to crack the preliminary examination 100%. And like the law of nature here is that, so nowadays I am going to gym, right. So so in gym, so I started going to gym after I became consistent with Insights IAS with respect to doing certain things. So then I was having this discussion with the gym trainer. So in our housing society there is a trainer, I don't have to pay, the housing society pays him. So even then I am paying him extra so that he can pay extra attention. So I was having this discussion, nobody pays me extra. Right. Now some parents actually come, will pay like crores, please make my. There are two instances like from Andhra Pradesh, right. So they were like the crores, like we can make them IAS, right. You make me UPSC member, right. No. So I was asking him, right. He told, he didn't tell, I asked him actually. So now in our housing society there are 600 families, right. So 600 families are there, and 600 families, all of them have seen life, most of them are obese and overweight, and many of them really want to become fit. But whenever I go in the morning to the gym, right, like I have been going for 4 to 5 months on a almost regular basis. So I see only 5 individuals being very consistent, right. This is the law of the nature, right. So only 5 individuals very consistent, right. So we have become like friends and all. So then I was asking, so see in my field I have seen this, I know why it happens. So year long process, they have to read Lakshmikant, they have to read the Hindu, right. So obviously they will quit. So now in the gym, right, it is a health benefit. So once you get fit, you will become fit, and you will, that is also uncertain nowadays, right. So but whatever it is. So then I was asking him, so why? So you have 600 families, right, but only 5 people are using gym regularly, and don't expect he had an answer. And he was like, sir, that is why I became rich, in earlier is gym, right. That is why I became big, because I used to encourage everyone to do this, to do gymming. Everybody would come on the first day, subscribe, right? Pay money, and then I would pump them up, get them do good exercises, do massage and everything. And then in the end, after a few weeks, around 5 to 6 people would come and they will go on to continue. So he told me that ಜಿಮ್ಮಿಗೆ ಬರೋ ತನಕ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕೆಲಸ, ಜಿಮ್ಮಿಗೆ ಬಂದ ಮೇಲೆ ನಮ್ಮದು ಅಂತಂದು, ಅಂದರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಎಷ್ಟು ಡೈಲಾಗ್ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಹಂಗೆ ಒಂಥರ, ರೈಟ್? ಸೊ come to the gym, right? Somehow you come to the gym, right? But most people don't come because getting up, 5 o'clock, then 6 o'clock, alarm, then waking up from the bed is very difficult. And once you wake up from the bed, you have little excuses, this and that, to do the things, right? But somehow if you can drag yourself and come to the gym, and he told me that once you enter this gym, then you will be able to do it. So why very few people do it is because most of the people lack, the foresight. Basically they look like, at a very short span, I mean not from the long distance perspective, right? So we are so, what do you say, so involved in our day to day problems, day to day excuses, that we have developed the habit of finding excuses in smallest of the small things, right? So we lack ambition, we lack motivation, that for example I see from 20 years perspective, right? So from 10 years later what I want to be, right? 20 years later what I want to be, 30 years which grave I need to be, right? Like random example, like that is there, you have a vision, it is not a dream or anything, how you want your life to be. So most of the people lack it. They would have thought about it, but again the day to day things, they come and mask this particular thinking. Similarly in your journey, though every orientation session, every session I tell people that do this kind of exercise, do this kind of, take these kind of steps, stay consistent, the same 5% law applies to UPSC also, right? Now if I tell entire class, do 300, 400 questions, now hardly 4 or 5 people will go and do it, right? By the time already you are finding excuses here itself, I have to revise, right? I mean, you are already, the mind is already finding excuses. It is very difficult, believe in someone's words. See, like I am somebody, like you have all of you come to the classroom with some expectations, right? Vinay sir, we will repeat the same thing, but let's so let us listen somehow, come and listen, right? So you are sitting in front of a person who has really delivered results, right? I remember, Avinash or Jaydev or before even Nandini coming 1 month before, 2 months before prelims, with their notebook, diary especially, and asking what we need to do right now. So I am at this level, I completed this and do what? But very few people do it year after year. So what I am telling you is not a generalization, right? It actually works. If you actually implement, it actually works. But to implement it, you should have certain motivation or personality for it. So for some reasons, we all, most of the people lack it, right? So now you have to ask this question repeatedly, and you at least now see it from the long term perspective, as I told you. If you fail prelims again after 28 days, 29 days, what is the consequence? What is the immediate consequence? What? No? What? Marriage? Huh? You have to plan for next year. Correct. Start for mains, optional, next year. क्या? क्या बांध के? अच्छा बोरिया बिस्तर जानते हो, बोरिया क्या? लगे जाते हैं, अच्छा ठीक है। नहीं बिस्तर छोड़ के जाओ, बोरी, सो नेक्स्ट बैच को यूज आ जाएगा। ठीक है। So have you asked yourself this question like why you don't do what needs to be done, right? So don't be under a bubble of your own comfort where you feel that you are already doing the right things, right? So we seldom don't imagine the competition. We imagine the competition, we get scared of it, right? The competition is really tough, right? If you are not really, practicing like mad, at least right in this stage, it is going to be difficult. So the first step you have to do is that start with 300 questions. Now how are you going to do it? So there are two stages to it. I am not asking you to do 300, 400 questions till the last day. So you have to divide it into two stages, 15 days and later 10 to 12 days for another section. So first starting from now, right, so divide them into subject wise, right. Now if you divide each subject into 2 to 3 days, like say 3 days for economy, 3 days for polity, 3 days for geography, 2 days for environment and one day for all these art and culture. So in next 15 days at least 1500 questions you can solve, right, at least 600 to 900 questions per subject, got it. After that, the second stage of it, you should compulsorily stop doing any mock test series of any institution. After May 15th, right, don't touch a single mock test of any institution, right. From that day onwards, it should be purely previous year question papers, right. Again, that is also like madness, right. So solve as many questions as possible of previous year question papers of not only UPSC but also all the static questions from all the other UPSC related examination wherever objective questions exist, right. So after May 15th onwards, only previous year questions, right. So while doing those previous year questions, anything that you come across, new word, any new concept, give utmost importance to that particular concept. And if you have already solved previous year questions right now and you have made a list of topics, keep reading them, right. So that is the single most important source for your prelims. What is previous year question paper? Every keyword, every word, every concept that is there in previous, whatever depth and whatever breadth you can achieve on those keywords will easily get you 60 to 65% marks in prelims, right. So the logic behind solving just before exam as many previous year questions, 20 years of civil service question papers, 5 years of other examinations, right. The logic is that you will get the continuity, you will become familiar with the UPSC language of the real question, the authentic questions of UPSC, right. You should not go with the mindset of, for example, our logic of framing question is different, Vision IAS is different, Forum IAS is different, Vajiram is different, or whatever institution you are solving, they will all have different logic, right. Now the UPSC is not like that. They have so many committees of expert people, senior most professors. So what I heard is that at least minimum, I'm not sure, at least 10 to 15 different committees are there just to set up one question paper, right. So the way it is set is that from all over India it is nobody knows which committee is there and nobody knows within which committee these members are there, right. So everybody sends question papers and at the end of the day hardly 1 or 2 questions from each individual will appear because the diversity of the question is huge, the sourcing of the questions. This is what I was told 3 years ago, right now I am not sure. The point here is that the people who are setting this question paper are very inquisitive in nature, curious people, right, and they know that their foundation is strong and they are trying to check your own foundation with respect to whether you have understood entire syllabus and the implication of the syllabus. This is very important, implication of this syllabus for you and for the country, for the world, because at the end of the day everything that is there in the syllabus, the concepts, the knowledge must be applied, right. Are you an individual who can apply, or can you see something that is applied, what is there in the question, right. So this you can learn not in the classroom, not by just reading sources, but by solving as many questions as possible. In the last 12 to 13 days when you were doing these previous year questions, so your mind I think will be free of fear, right? Because I am 100% sure when you go to real preliminary examination, most of the questions will appear very familiar, except current affairs part, right? Maybe 20-25 questions. That ratio will keep varying. So this year it may be 30-35 question, but whatever it is, not beyond 30 to 40 questions. So at least 60 questions are in such a way that anybody who has done the basic reading of the syllabus and has read it from different dimension would be able to get at least 50 to 60 questions right. And I am a strong believer that if somebody, see, it's a basically screening test at the end of the day, and most of the people fail because of the fear, right, and because of the anxiety. And already I met few people 2-3 days ago, so they have already started getting sleepless nights. They are not able to sleep. The fear has started, creeping in their mind. What if I fail? So what if you fail? What happens if you fail? Nothing will happen. Modi will again. So there will be again election next year, right? In the month of May, before your prelims. So much of entertainment will be there, right? Then again, you will move on. Everyone will move on, right? So whenever death occurs, so I keep wondering, how fast people move on. Have you observed it? It doesn't matter how close those people were, right? How attached you to those people, everybody moves on, right? And what about this failure? We all move on. At the end of the day, we all move on. We know that we will move on, right? We need an excuse, to stay sad and not to sleep. You need a reason, right? So that is because there are like many layers in the mind, emotional layers and logical layers. Some may have put logic under the bed, and all these emotional layers are dominating. You have to remove them. You have to become rational, right? So I told this individual, like, because you are getting scared, the preparation is not again just solving mock tests or going back to the basics. The second part is, now don't chase advanced stuff. You have to read current affairs. As I have already told, current affair quiz of Insights IAS is the best source. I usually don't say it so confidently about everything, but when it comes to current affair quiz, now if you have not done current affair properly, go with RTM questions, revision through MCQs, because we have 3 initiatives. So you don't have time to do all the questions, at least RTM questions of last 12 months compilations, right? So in a month you will have around 300 questions of RTM questions, not 300, around 250 questions, right? So I think it is doable. So go from March to backwards. So don't start from last June to forward. Go backward from March to backward. The current affair quiz compulsorily solve it, right? And if you are solving current affair quiz, forget about all other current affair materials. Our own revision modules, our own compilations, monthly compilation, or any other compilation from another institution, you don't have to read it right now, in my humble opinion, right? So solving quiz, because you already have, like if you are going to solve 10-month compilation, you have 2500 questions. That is so many current affairs, right? So try to be as good as with those current affairs. The third dimension with respect to basics is that, now whenever I am asking you to solve the question, it doesn't mean that you should not study the static part, right? So in these 15 days from going forward, in addition to doing around 300 questions, so when you are doing 300 questions, as I said, you might come across around 60-70 new concepts. Read them. Combined it might take around 6 hours. Restrict to 6 hours. 300 questions and just quickly going through the solution and then reading about new concepts. And then another 6 hours. So all of you are studying for 12 hours. Minimum 12 hours? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. No, some people are not saying yes, like they are still in the 8 hours, 10 hours. You American flag, how many hours? 11 to 12. Good. So how is your confidence? Alternate days. Okay. Hmm. No, no need. Don't worry about notes. You don't have to make notes. And if you are OGP student, like classroom student, whatever notes teachers have given, I have seen those notes. Polity, environment, economy, geography, they are absolutely comprehensive, right? So for the basics, you just stick to the notes. If you have been reading that, right? And then I'm sure you have read NCERT also, right? So now in the basics, the another 6 hour part, 2 hours you dedicate for CSAT. So remaining 4 hours, compulsorily again read NCERT now with a new open mind. Again, not to remember stuff, but keep a curiosity alive and keep looking at each and every corner of the NCERT textbook for important, interesting keywords. In the boxes, in the question section, like in the at the end of the chapter there is a question section, right? So they also extrapolate concept and ask certain questions. They don't ask question as it is from the content which are given as part of the chapter. They also extrapolate, right, or correlate with some other concept. So try to identify all the keywords and try to do little research on those keywords and read something about them. You will definitely thank me, right? So it doesn't take much of your time, in one day you can complete like easily 2 textbooks. It is just like skimming through them, identifying, trying to know the important keywords from every textbook, 6th to 12th of all humanities textbooks, right? And then whatever notes you have been reading, read. But again, try to strengthen basics. This is very important. I am stressing this because at the end of the day, when you solve the question paper and come out, the frequent complaint is that I got silly questions wrong. I made silly mistakes. I made the very basic questions I got wrong. So that happens because when the examination is nearing, in the race to overload with information, you tend to ignore the basics. That happens because so much information is, the materials are coming into the market. So you keep downloading, you keep trying to read. So don't do that. That's a very big mistake. The basic sources, whatever you have been reading, so they are the absolute gold, and try to revise them. Again, revise with a curiosity, not just trying to read what is there. What I meant by curiosity is that try to learn little extra about those keywords. Again, not too much of depth, right? Just little extra. So another 15 days, maybe one last revision you can give, but still whenever it comes to question papers, ensure that not a single question is left from last 5 years of CDS, NDA, Geo Scientist examination and CAPF, and there is one more IES, I think, Engineering Service. Engineering Service and Geo Scientist, Environment and Science and Tech questions are really important, right? So these questions get next level treatment in UPSC preliminary exams. So basically the committees will be same, the kind of topics they touch have a logic. So when it comes to SNT and environment, the kind of topics they are touching is that those topics which have implications for our existence, our life. So within SNT you will see that more focus is on the pollution aspects, right? Technologies that have day-to-day implication for our life. They don't ask very random questions. So you have to understand the logics basically, right? So that is why you should have open mind and curiosity when you are observing the question paper. Observe very carefully, especially previous year question papers, right? And I'll coming back to the argument, there is another third dimension to the entire preparation, that preparing your mind. Now you are reading, you will go on to solve the question papers and you will gain skills, and your scores might improve, may not improve. As I said, it doesn't have absolute relationship with your performance in the real exam. Don't worry, you may be scoring 70, you can still go on to crack the examination. It's all about your basics and your ability to apply those basics, how well you are going to eliminate. And I have already given the logic behind elimination. Your elimination skills are directly proportionate to what? Peace of mind, correct. That is, apart from that, number of questions that you have attempted in the real exam or practiced here? Practiced, yes. So your ability to eliminate options precisely, accurately is proportionate to how many options you have seen on that question as part of your preparation. Right? Did you get this? So if you have seen as many options related to that particular concept as part of the preparation, it is easy to eliminate. If you haven't heard or seen those options in the examination, right, when you are solving that question, it is difficult. You will have to do wild guess, and the wild guess will almost go wrong. You know that, right? You have this three round logic. First round accuracy will be around 80%. Then in the second round it will get reduced to 50 to 60%. The third round it gets reduced to less than 50%. The last few questions, if you are solving 10 questions, so 2 to 3 you will get right in the last leg. When you have already solved like 70-80 questions and you are trying to take chance with another 10-20 questions, you know that, am I right or wrong here? So is it common experience for everyone? In the end you will get most of them wrong. Why? Not tension at time, you don't know them. You don't know answer to those questions, but you are under the pressure, because you have some more extra time. So ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕಡಿತಾ ಇರ್ತದಲ್ಲಿ ಸುಮ್ ಕೂರಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಲ್ವಲ್ಲ, ಆಡು ಭಾಷೆ ಇದು. ನಮ್ಮ ಖರ್ಗೆ ಅವ್ರು ಆಡು ಭಾಷೆಲಿ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು, ನಾವು ಹಿಂಗೆ ಆಡು ಭಾಷೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ರೈಟ್. ಸೊ ಸುಮ್ ಕೂರಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, ಪೆನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬೊಬ್ಬಲ್ಗಳು ಖಾಲಿ ಖಾಲಿ ಇರ್ತವೆ, ಆಟ ಆಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಏನಾರ ಬೇಕಲ್ಲ, ರೈಟ್. ಸೊ ಇನ್ ದಿ ಎಂಡ್ ಯು ಅಟೆಂಪ್ಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ದೆನ್ ಹೊರಗೆ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು, ಸೊ ನಾವು ದಾವಣಗೆರೆಯವ್ರು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ರೆಗ್ಯುಲರ್ ಕನ್ನಡ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಕನ್ನಡ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ. ಹೊರಗೆ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ, ಎಲ್ಲ ತಪ್ಪು ಮಾಡಿ, ಗೊತ್ತು ತಪ್ಪು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮಲ್ಲಿ, ಹೊರಗೆ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಸ್ಕೋಪ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋದು, ರೈಟ್. ಆ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ನನಗೆ ಅಬ್ಸಲ್ಯೂಟ್ಲಿ ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ಗೊತ್ತಿತ್ತು, ಆದರೂ ನಾನು ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ತಪ್ಪು ಮಾಡಿದೆ. ಯಾಕೆ ಅದೇ ಆಗಲಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ನಲ್ಲ, ಸುಮ್ಕೂರಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗ್ತಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ, ರೈಟ್. So now is the time to be mindful that these mistakes are going to take place in the real exam, right? Make a list of every possible mistake that you might commit in the examination hall, right? You have to make a list of them and you have to remember them. You have to be mindful, right? You should know that you should attempt only these many questions because that is what working you in most of the mock tests, right? And again you should know that you have to be flexible about it. So for example, what I mean by flexible, so the real examination in UPSC Prelims, the paper might be slightly easier than expected for you, so then reach 90 also or even 95 also, right? But the paper is more tougher than all that papers and also previous year paper. So in that case you should never be above 70 or 75 questions. Logically what it means that you don't know answers to around 20-30 questions, right? So then you should not attempt at all. So around 70 questions you can take chance. Absolutely you should not attempt any other extra question, right? So you should be mindful of this fact, and in the real examination when something is motivating you, because answering 70-75 questions would take around 1.5 hours, you still have half an hour with you, right? So you have to control yourself. The self control is very important, right? Avaga like malkoli like aramagi baradbiಟ್ಟು, they don't allow you to go early, right? No, ಯಾಕೆ ಪೇಪರ್ ಲೀಕ್ ಆಗುತ್ತಂತ. ವೈ ಬೇರೆ ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸಿಟಿ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಆದರೆ ಬರೆದು ಫಸ್ಟು. So in UPSC exam they don't allow. It's a good thing because of the security concerns. No, whatever, I don't know the logic, right? They should allow you to go once you complete the paper, right? So because at least by doing that you will not be able to repeat the mistake. But maybe that is also a strategy to test the candidate's personality, and so we have to link like this. That UPSC does this because there is a logic here, right? maybe like self-control, right? One, to prepare your mind, know what are the possible mistakes you are going to make a list of them, make everything, starting from not sleeping, right? Not sleeping few days before or one night before the examination, that is also a big mistake. If you have to sleep, you take like what? Bacardi or which one? Huh? Red wine. Red Bull. Okay. Old monk. ಯಾರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದು? ಯಾರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದು ಓಲ್ಡ್ ಮಾಂಕ್ ಅಂತ? Depending on your level, you can take, right? No, I don't drink, I don't smoke. I used to now and then, now stopped completely. Now and then means like in a year like 4 or 5 times, 6 or 5 times, when nowadays school friends, all these nowadays school friends who are into medical, they're all, don't know what are all things damaged like. I don't know, what is with these medical science students? It is exactly like that movie that, no, before Kabir Singh is our Hindi movie, like our Telugu, Arjun Reddy. Arjun Reddy is original. Right? It is like that, they drink a lot and all, right? What about UPSC people, boys? No, you don't do that. Fees kodake duddilla. ನೀವೇನಾದ್ರು ಕೊಡ್ಸಿದ್ರೆ ರೈಟ್ no no, some people are there, like very few people, so those who have money, those who have rich girlfriend, so they do it, but very few people, or those who are very close to some teachers, not at Insight, other institution I have seen, right? Rich teachers, they have a small gang and they make people take to party and other things, and I'm very happy, like Insight, look at you, like all of you, like, right, very innocent, very sober, right? It's good. So but on that day, one day before prelims, right, if you're not getting sleep, do something to get sleep, whatever it is, right? So it can be no, the sleeping is very important, right, but light only, I mean you should be in a position to wake up, right? Now the thing is, this video is going to be live, maybe on YouTube, and somebody will take the clip. So see, like a very progressive teacher standing in front of the crowd, and he is encouraging people one day before, and there is another crowd, another crowd, right? So he is not recommending Gomutra, he is recommending. Right. So very dangerous times nowadays, right? So you are all of you are out of social media, right? Right. So especially WhatsApp. So be out of WhatsApp, because avoid any trouble few days before because there can be relationship troubles, right? So in relationship troubles, these things happen. Like very few people are in a relationship, but still I will tell you. So whenever you are about to go to a war, right? So your partner will try to prevent you, right? So they become insecure, in few cases, and in some cases it will be over possessiveness and other things. So try to avoid any kind of complication. Mind should be absolutely free, right? So try to avoid all the social media. The third one, that is also the second mistake. Third is, I have talked about with respect to preparation, not avoid advanced stuff and reading news source and other things. So third, with respect to being ready for the consequences, right? Because you are either going to pass or you are either going to fail. So there are only two outcomes, right? There are only two outcomes. You are either going to really do well, that 100 plus in paper 1 and maybe 80-90 plus in paper 2, or for some reasons you might screw it up, right? So there are two outcomes. Now list all the consequences of these two outcomes. Now itself, take a notebook, prepare the consequences. For example, if you pass, there are consequences. Immediately the tension like optional is not fully covered. I have to revise optional, start writing answers, enroll to a test series. GS, essay I am not good, I have to improve, right? Mains related tensions will be there. So it has its own consequences, and if you fail, that night you will know, right? Mostly you will know that whether you have done well or not. So though all our answer keys are way off the mark of real UPSC, so still you will know, have a rough idea. So what are the consequences, right? So mentally are you prepared to give one more attempt with job or without job, right? Or for some of you it might have been an ultimatum, the 23 attempt, right? So what are you going to do? Are you going to quit and start something new, right? So list down everything, write down, it actually helps. Why it helps is that the mind, I try to read about mind and try to analyze how mind works, how mind evolves and other things. So mind also needs a comfort zone. I mean it also needs comforting, right? It also needs cushion. You have to give that cushion to mind. After you have been through this process of prelims, you have to give certain cushion to your mind. It needs to fall back and relax, right? It should not get affected in any way. What I am trying to say is that when you have clarified yourself, when you have got the clarity that post this particular event of prelims, you have all these options in front of you, all these multiple options, right? Whether when you succeed, you have different options. When you don't crack, you have all these different options. And when you tell your mind and when you condition your mind, repeatedly telling it that, when you write down, it actually believes, and when you think about them again and again, it actually believes. So on the event of failure, you won't really feel sad and feel like you feel like what the world has ended for you. And going back to old monk, same day, right? One peg, avatarati full bottle. Right? So no need to do that. The most wonderful thing is that when you actually write down and prepare like this, the chances of failing is very less, right? This you remember, right? When you prepare your mind for all the consequences, positive or negative, and when you have made it strong, telling that no, don't worry, you have a conversation. If something goes wrong, we will find a way, right? We'll do something, so many options are there. That is why I am doing this podcast and all. So recently invited a student. So watch the latest episode. It's he used to be OGP student, first OGP student. He used to study really well, and I used to think he would go on to top the exam. So he felt after after failing 2 prelims, he felt no, it is not my cup of tea, like I'll try something else. He went back to Kerala and started southloom.com. His father had a small cloth center or something. He thought I'll make it big without taking any investment, and he just borrowed the cloths that were there, few sets, and with a unique concept, using leveraging the Instagram and online tools, he started, and it is really making big business. It's very popular in Kerala, and in internet if you search, and they are trying to expand also. The quality of life has improved tremendously for him and for his family. So I was so happy whenever I used to put WhatsApp status. So I wanted to invite him. He came and we had a really great conversation. So you can watch it later. So the point is that there are so many options when your mind knows these things, right? That beyond UPSC also we have something. What actually happens is that you are not sitting idle, right? As I told you, you have taken coaching, you have studied things, you have practiced. When you have done everything, on the day when your mind is already ready for the outcomes, right? On that day you will perform wonderfully well. No, beyond your expectation, because the fear is gone, right? You don't have any more fear in your mind that if I fail, something will happen, because your mind is ready, you are ready actually for it. So on that day, without worrying about future, you will live in that moment, when you are solving the question paper, and your performance will increase manyfold and outcome will be wonderful, right? And this happens only if you are prepared for it, right? Without preparation, you cannot just daydream and go, and in some cases that might also work. I don't know if the fellow is smart, but largely this principle works in day-to-day things also, in exams like this also. But prepare well, right? Don't leave any stone unturned, especially right now. In the 30 days, if you are doing 300 questions every day, right? So nearly 7 to 8,000 minimum questions you are going to solve, right? So which means so many thousands of options you are exposed, you have seen, right? And this, most of the questions are not totally new for you. You have been reading about them, you have solved as part of different tests, previous year you have solved them, and that reinforcement will again happen, right? And when you go to examination, you will see that you are ready for around 50-60 questions, right? And again, don't go to the exam thinking that so don't go to the exam thinking that you have to answer all 100 questions. The source of fear is because somewhere we think that we need to be ready for all 100 questions. So the moment I see 3 totally alien questions in the very first page, we start getting nervous. Absolutely, you haven't heard about them, these 3-4 questions, you start getting nervous. So be prepared to face such 20-25 questions beforehand. Before going to the exam, know that 20-25 questions you absolutely have no idea. What you are doing is you are taking chance with remaining 75 questions. So that is also preparing mind, basically preparing the ground, so that you don't face any sudden shock in the examination hall, right? So these are the things we have to discuss, and you have to really work on. Otherwise, you will again get carried away with the usual preparation, and in the real examination, despite preparing very well, so-called preparing very well, solving so many things and doing things, these small issues will impact your performance in the real examination. We don't give importance to this in day-to-day life. We don't actually think about them. Do you think about them? No. ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಡೈಲಿ? Do you think about them? ಏನು ಹಂಗೆ ಗುರಾಯಿಸ್ತೀರಾ ನೀವು? No. So anybody has thought about any other option after prelims? Prelims ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಆಗಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೆ? In case if you don't do well in prelims, have you thought about any option? Anybody wants to join insights? Start your own insights. If somebody is like that, you tell me, by hook or crook, I'll make you clear prelims. So all of you are smart, bright students. ಯಾರಾದ್ರೂ ಹಂಗಿದ್ದೀರಾ? Please, special guidance. So nobody has start thinking about it. My suggestion, the first thought you should think is that whether it is first attempt, second attempt, third attempt, fourth attempt, tell your mind that immediately if you don't do well in prelims, you are going to get a job. Doesn't matter which job, what job, that is number one option. This is important. I mean, somebody might be wondering prelim session why he is telling, right? You will understand its importance really later. Second is higher education. Prepare your mind. NLS offers certain courses. So many IITs have come up with courses in humanities, in law also. For any graduation, there are courses available, right? So in case if you don't crack this prelims, I want you to crack the life. Good dialogue. Andre something bigger than IAS, right? Think of bigger than IAS, or achieving something very big in life. So I did another podcast, I don't know how many of you watched. It was with another student. His name is Asghar Ali, right? Yeah. So the story is that he was preparing and he gave 6 mains and 2 interviews. He didn't make it. he was working in planetarium, Nehru Planetarium, right? So he was earning within 1 lakh at that point of time. But he gave his best, and then during COVID he thought he will do cyber policy related course from NLS, and he did well in that course. So he submitted that paper to a foreign university, and based on his scores in GMAT and GRE or GMAT, I don't know. So he got admission into one of the top 3 business schools in the world, right? And then he was recruited in from Google, a top position, right? He looks after South America and North America data centers, right? So updating them, procuring new hardware for these data centers, interacting with the world's topmost manufacturers of these things, with CEOs and other things. Something unimaginable like 2 to 3 years ago, right? And the salary has gone like crores, right? And he was invited, by ambassador in America, right? Because he was student leader or something in college for a dinner, and his friend is Saudi Minister of Tourism or something. He also came to do the course, Saudi Arabia. So he did the course and he came back to Saudi Arabia. He was made minister. In Saudi Arabia, it is no election, right? So he can be minister. So the future is like that. Even in India also. So such opportunities are opening up, right? Through lateral entry, you can be anything if you have specialization, if you have confidence, and if you have required degrees and qualifications, right? So options are various. So don't make this prelims as bigger than life thing. Give your best, prepare well, give your best. If you crack IAS, get into IAS. As I said, beyond IAS, I mean within IAS you should think bigger than IAS. There are also opportunities. So when we start thinking as the problem in front of us as the biggest problem you have right now, then it's very difficult to overcome it, right? Yes, sir. How many of you are thinking in that direction? ಪರವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಕೈ ಎತ್ತೆ. ಅಟ್ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ಈಗಾದರೂ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ಇವಾಗಿಂದ? ಫ್ರಮ್ ನೌ ಆನ್ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಅಟ್ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಥಿಂಕಿಂಗ್, right? You can become anything. I mean, that is how I have started looking at life. You can become anything you want, right? Like Narendra Modi is prime, whatever his ideology or anything, the way he has become prime minister, right? Who knows, Rahul Gandhi might become prime minister. We don't know, right? 10 years, 15 years later, he might become, right? No, all it requires is persistence and improving yourself, updating yourself, keep acquiring skills, acquiring knowledge, required confidence. In any field you will go on to, people will start recognizing you. But what we do is that we live in our shell and we make the small problem as big problem, and we keep fighting with it, try to overcome, and we are scared of overcoming it also, coming out of it, not overcoming, right? So don't be like that. So why I am talking about it is that there is a logic here. So when you don't think this problem as a problem, right, the problem doesn't exist. It just vanishes. It is true. It's not any philosophy or anything. And when you think something bigger than that, right, it becomes a small subset, something, it vanishes. You will sail through, you will, whether you pass or fail, it doesn't matter to you. You will sail through that problem, right? So be like that. So think of bigger problems in life, so that this prelims and on that night you don't have to take old monk or anything. Normal, you'll get sound sleep, right? So and then you will conquer the whatever, like you'll conquer prelims, conquer life, conquer world. I don't know how many of you are believing all of this. Are you believing whatever I am saying? Yes, does it make sense? Yes, like, can you relate? At least few people, can you relate to what I am trying to say here? Yes. It actually makes sense. I am the example. My success is not a very big success, but in a small world of mine, I try to live by that and live by this. Every day 8 hours sleep, no compromise, no drinks, no old monk, nothing. ಮಕ್ಕಳ ಹತ್ರ ಹೋಗಿ ಆಟ ಆಡೋದು, ಸುಸ್ತು ಮಾಡಿಬಿಡ್ತವೆ, ಮಲ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು, ರೈಟ್? play with children, they make you tired, sleep, right? So something like this. I mean, you can give time to family, you can, whatever it is. The thing is, how we look at life really melts problems in front of us. So problems become no problems. So you can also watch Jiddu Krishnamurti videos. I mean, now and then, Jiddu Krishnamurti, J. Krishnamurti is a philosopher, world-renowned teacher. So he talks about these things, maybe daily, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Like wonderful philosophy. These are some of the things I learned from his teachings, right? About mind and about problems. So what should be the goal of humanity and what we need to do. So he talks about one very important concept. We are all connected, right? Our consciousness. Why we should not mistreat any other human, why we should not discriminate is because you is me, me is you. Basically we are same, right? If I mistreat you, I am mistreating myself, right? If I am discriminating others, I am discriminating myself or one of our family members. So we are all connected, all religion, all this Italian, Indian, nothing, everyone is actually one, right? So when you understand this simple philosophy, right, then you will live happily actually. You will treat everyone with love, respect, you will never think that you are what? Superior, dominant, you know more, you know less, nothing. Okay. Prelims ganta bandvi. P for prelims but philosophy right. So I say these things because they really matter and they really help. If some, as I told, 5% rule, right? So when I come to the class, I don't expect everyone to understand, everyone to appreciate, but only 5%, right? 5% is a very big number, right? So 5% can be all you people, you can be one of those 5%, right? So identify who is that you. Can you be that 5%, right? And the result is cakewalk. Once you become that 5%, it's easy, very easy. Integers, correct? Mate, ಏನು ಸಮಾಚಾರ? So I have grown comfortable talking to you people. ಮುಂಚೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು 5 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ಮಾತಾಡ್ಬೇಕಂತ ಭಯ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು. So I used to get like, I used to feel very conscious. ಇವರೆಲ್ಲ ಏನು ಅನ್ಕೊಂತಾರೋ, ಬರೀ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಸೆಟ್ ಹಾಕೊಂಡ್ಬರ್ತಾರೆ ಇವರು. ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಐ ಸೈಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಆದರೂ ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಹಾಕೊಂಡ್ಬರ್ತಾರೆ ಇವರು. ಇಲ್ಲ ಇದೆ ಅದು. ಐ ಆಮ್ ಟಾಕಿಂಗ್ ಅಸಂಪ್ಷನ್ಸ್, ರೈಟ್? ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಬರೀ ಜಯದೇವ ನಂದಿನಿ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. So Nandini example is something, high point in my life. So she came actually, she wrote a mail, aವಾಗ ನಾನು ಒಬ್ಬನೇ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದೆ. I was the lonely person who was running the core batch and the setup. On Teachers Day she wrote a mail, September 5, 2016. Teachers Day ಹಿಂಗೆ ಮೇಲ್ ಬರೀತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ನಿಮಗೆ, ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೈಡೆನ್ಸ್ ಬೇಕು, ಅದು ಇದು ಬೇಕು, ಹಿಂಗೆ IRS ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, 800 ರ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ಇದೆ, ಟಾಪ್ 10 IAS ಬೇಕು, ಐ ವಾಂಟ್ IAS ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಐ ವಾಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಹ್ಯಾಪಿ, ಟಾಪರ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಮಿಂಗ್ ಇಯರ್, 800 700 ಡಸಂಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾಟರ್. ಸೊ ಶಿ ವಾಂಟೆಡ್ ಇಂಪ್ರೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇನ್ GS ಆನ್ಸರ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಂಡ್ essay writing. For some reason I used to be good in them, now also little bit. So I said okay, come here. So she came with her mother, she stayed here, and her dedication and hard work and smartness in making use of the facilities, that is what really mattered. I never found her extraordinary, like extraordinarily she used to sound dumb actually, to learn more, as if pretend she doesn't know anything, not to pretend like I know, I am smart, but pretend I don't know, I have made many mistakes, somehow you help me. So that attitude, I think, is the main reason why she was able to really crack it. So essay score improved, and Kannada she had already scored high, and 1 month before result I used to tell first rank, right? So after that I am not finding any such candidate. I haven't told anyone first rank since then. right? I predicted top 5, top 3, but ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಯಾಕೋ. So if somebody, I don't know, it's very, ಅದು ಒಂಥರ insights, intuition, right? When you meet some people regularly, when you have seen their work, it makes you tell, right? So I'm still in search of such candidate. ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಈಗಲೂ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಟಾಪ್ 10 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೋ ಈ ವರ್ಷನೂ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಒಂದಿಬ್ಬರು 3 ಜನ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಬಟ್ ಟಾಪ್ ಲೈಕ್ ರ್ಯಾಂಕ್ 1 ಬಂದೇ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹೇಳೋದು ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗಿದೆ. So that was high point because somewhere in Bangalore we had like few handful of students and rank 1 all over India, right? So we made it possible. There is a process to it, absolutely. After prelims, if you really want to score really high in mains, come visit again and again. You know, bring your answers, essays. I'll be here. I'm not going to Delhi. Not frequently anymore. So we want to like slowly wind up Delhi in future. Focus on Bangalore, right? So get more and more ranks here itself. So use the talents here. And so that is another positive after prelims consequence, right? You can list down and be motivated to work hard, right? It's a possibility. Let us all come together, make it Bangalore as the most desired destination for UPSC preparation. Yes, ನೀವು ಯಾರು ಏನೋ ಹೇಳಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೆ ಐ ಮೀನ್ ವಿಲ್ ವೈಂಡ್ ಅಪ್ ದಿ ಸೆಷನ್ ಆರ್ ಐ ಕೀಪ್ ಟಾಕಿಂಗ್ ಸಮ್ ನಾನ್ಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಗೇನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಅಗೇನ್. ಎನಿ ಡೌಟ್ಸ್? ಈಗ ಕೇಳ್ರಿ ಡೌಟ್ಸ್. ಎನಿ ಡೌಟ್ಸ್? 400 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ವಾಟ್ ಯು ಅಬ್ಸಲ್ಯೂಟ್ಲಿ ಡೋಂಟ್ ನೋ, only them you should look through, or like for example what you absolutely don't know means you have to learn about it. Learn, even if it takes more number of hours, you learn about it. No, it is impossible to revise it again. The idea is to familiarize yourself with as many options as possible, right? Normal question na? Sources, oh nice. First of course ಈಗ next 15 days ಸಿಗಲ್ವಾ? So one source for static question, we have static quiz compilations on our website. Static quiz compilations, right? So we are posting them at least for 4 to 5 years. So go to download section, static quiz. Every month quiz is divided into topic wise. Polity, economy, geography, right? So whichever subject you are solving, so those 2 to 3 year compilation you can take. That is one source. So another source is subject wise question papers of insights and vision, or at least 2 to 3 test series of static question papers, right? So you can take those question papers. So third source is, if you have time and if you want more number of questions, the question banks. Right, you have those question banks. You have heard about those question banks. You can go to Amazon and search Vinay GB, right? You will get question banks, polity, economy, geography. So they are all very good question banks. So half of the questions were framed by me, like between 2014 to 2018. After that I am not doing it, the team is doing it, but ನಮ್ಮ ಹೆಸರು ಇರಬೇಕಲ್ಲ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ. So it has very good questions, you can solve them. You will, for example, the polity question bank has 2000 questions, right? Economy also has 1800 questions. So my recommendation, economy, environment, polity question banks. So these 3 are thoroughly revised every year. We add new good questions, quality questions. These 3 question banks, so try to solve as many questions. Again, within them, don't go by chapter wise approach, like page wise approach. By solving, by now you will know which are the important topics within polity, within economy, geography. If you have seen the previous year questions, you will know. So on those topics, try to do as many questions as possible. Okay.
Sir, full length test February economics complete. So ನಾನು ಎಲ್ಲ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ 5 ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀನಿ.
It's a good question that you asked.
So, ಅಂದರೆ ನಾನು ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ 10 days ಅಂದರೆ 10 years full length test ಅಂತ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ.
No, wrong. As I told you, last 10 days only previous year questions.
Last 10 years.
Now you start with full length papers. So full length paper, why you need to give is that many people give sectional papers. Polity they will score 120, 100, very happy, right? Similarly in other subjects sectional you score very high marks. It gives false confidence. Don't believe it, right? The real examination is, you know that it's mix up all the questions from all the important areas of syllabus. So you need to have exposure to that kind of questions. The thinking is different in full length paper compared to sectional paper. So you have to train your mind to think, right, to all these uncertain permutation combinations of these questions. That is why the more full length paper you do, the better your mind will be able to think in the real exam. Otherwise what happens, so you have done only sectional paper, suddenly in the real mains the first 10 questions you will see purely SNT, science and tech questions, and then you will see something ancient medieval, for which you are actually not ready, right? So science and tech may be your weak area, so then it will go down the road. So ensure you start doing full length papers immediately. So out of these 300 questions which I said, 1 or 2 full length papers, maybe another 100, 150 question random questions from different sources. Yes. Any other questions is there? Any other questions you have? ರಿವಿಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಯೂಲ್ಸ್ ಇಷ್ಟೊತ್ತಿ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಡ್ಬೇಕಿತ್ತು ಅದನ್ನು. ಇವಾಗ ವಾಟ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಫೇರ್ಸ್, ವಾಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಬಿನ್ ರೀಡಿಂಗ್ ಫಾರ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಫೇರ್ಸ್? just revise that only. The modules is condensed version of these monthly magazines only. We are not adding anything extra to these modules, right, except for the latest current affairs. If you have regularly revised monthly current affair compilations, just revise it again 1 or 2 times. No need to read these revision modules.
So if we do this 100 questions like full and test, so we should do it like round wise only, or randomly, like in 1 hour is the target?
I mean, it can be better to do round wise only, the way you are going to do in the real examination. Okay, so one paper you do, remaining 200 subject questions. So what I meant by one full length paper every day, because 300 questions, out of them maybe 200 questions subject wise, 2 to 250, 100 question the full length paper which you haven't done so far. So that paper you do round wise. So the subject wise 1 to 100 you just go. No, that is what, no, familiarizing with more number of options. That is the solution. And another thing is that when you are solving a question, keep an open mind. So most of the time we try to solve a question based on the knowledge that we have. Or for example, if you are solving polity question, you try to remember things from the polity textbook, Lakshmikant, whether it is there in Lakshmikant or no. So that is the source of your thinking, right? No, think of elections, right? Think of current affairs that you have read about polity. Regarding that question, anything wherever you have come across, it can be a documentary, it can be somebody might have told you something about it, right? So we have to trust everything. So we have to keep open mind and try to solve question based on our wisdom, our experience, not just from the knowledge component. So that will actually help you in the exam, right? Yes, yes, absolutely fine. So far if you have followed one particular test series, right, keep revising the same thing, right? Question papers I am talking about, right? If you want more practice, like for example, if you feel weak in environment, SNT, so then pick up more questions. What I have given is a large template. You can customize according to your strength and weaknesses. Like next 4 days you can give only for environment related questions if you feel that you are weak in the environment section. See, all of you have capability to clear. I mean, this is not a CSAT what? CSAT, yeah. So CSAT, one mistake you need to avoid. In CSAT, the logic is ulta. So I don't recommend solving previous year questions and go to CSAT exam. Right? I mean, you have to solve them. You should know the pattern, which type of questions within quant are frequently asked. Everything you should know. But while going to CSAT, the everyday 2 hours exercise what I talked about, so try to solve questions slightly difficult than the UPSC CSAT questions. So you can source questions from SBI PO exam, right? I think even SSC or CDS, ND exam are also questions are standard than UPSC questions. So try to do more of these questions rather than just sticking to only previous year CSAT question papers. Previous year CSAT paper you will score 90 plus, 100 plus. It gives you false confidence, right? Those questions will be somehow familiar to you. But in the real exam, the questions are of different nature. So you have to train yourself in that regard. So as many difficult questions from as many different examinations. And my personal suggestion, I don't know how it works, first do the quant in the real exam and try to be good at quant component by solving as many quality quant questions, difficult quant questions, because the accuracy rate is very high there, right? So out of around 30 questions, you should be able to solve 25 to 26 questions, right, in 1 hour, and then move to passages. And again, passages also, if you have been reading editorials, if you have been reading quality stuff, you will know which passage to skip. So for that, first read the questions, not the passage itself. By reading question, you will know that if the questions have kind of static component, can be eliminated directly, or if the questions are vague and subjective, you try to skip that passage and move to another passage. So these small decisions which you make, how quickly you make in CSAT examination will decide, because speed is an issue in CSAT. The same paper 3 hours if I give to everyone, you will obviously score 100 plus. So the same thing can you do in 2 hours, right? Mate? I don't know, for some reason the second half, they all look very brilliant. Why? ಮುಂದಿರೋ ದಡ್ರಂತಲ್ಲ. No, in English I was telling, जो पीछे बैठे ना वो लोग बहुत इंटेलिजेंट लग रहा है. इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि आगे वाले बुद्धू है. Why? Why are you looking intelligent? Such an innocent question. Now everybody is asking like, what ಖುಷಿ ಆಗೋಯ್ತು ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ. Yes. No, that is why I said 6 hours for questions, 6 hours, another 6 hours, and 4 hours for that. So whatever concept you wanted to revise again, right? Either through textbook or notes or again through questions, you can keep that for 4 hours. But ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದು 6 hours strictly for doing these questions. So whatever new thing you learn out of these, again 300 questions, so rest of the day you try to spend time on it, right? And if you have made a list of those topics, right, after 2 to 3 days if you want to revise, like if you have forgotten, you try to revise. So I mean, that is what I meant by customizing, be flexible. But the large template of this actually works. See, I have spoken to many people, even randomly when people for mock interviews, right? So nearly 600 candidates have done mock interviews this year, right? That is what? More than 1/4 of people appearing for interview this year. So I asked this question like, how did you prepare for prelims and all. The smart people kind of reinforce my own suggestion that I am making. So they say like 1 or 2 months before I just stuck to question papers, nothing else. I was doing like 2 to 3 question papers every day, and from that I was trying to learn whatever new I wanted to learn, right. This actually works. So one example I remember is the 4th rank Artika Shukla, like long ago, but she gave a statement like just 2-3 months she didn't have time to prepare. She was in AIMS, I think, internship. So she stuck on she studied solved and studied only our question papers and I think vision, only these 2 papers for prelims, and she cracked, not by huge margin, but she was able to crack prelims first attempt and get all India rank 4. So it's a very smart strategy, don't doubt it, it has no negatives. For you to stop doing it, for you to not doing it, it doesn't have any negative consequences, right. You will actually familiarize with more number of concepts in a more active manner. So when you look at a question and when you learn it, that will stay with you for long term than directly looking at something, trying to remember it, right. You try it, it actually works. So fine. So wish you all the best. So again we'll meet on May 27th. So on that day we'll give you Cadbury chocolates. Adakadru banni avattu. If you want, I can make a concession. Nowadays we have chocolate, with rum. Anybody has seen that? Round chocolate, ಒಳಗೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ rum ಇರ್ತದೆ. Old monk, I don't know. Will be there. Maybe if you want, we can give you that, right? ಯಾರಾದರೂ ಟೇಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಆ ಥರ ಚಾಕ್ಲೇಟ್? ಎಸ್, ವೆರಿ ಗುಡ್, ಫೈನ್. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ಯು ಡೂ, ಸ್ಟೇ ಹ್ಯಾಪಿ, ಸ್ಟೇ ರಿಲ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ಡ್, ಟೆನ್ಷನ್ ತಗೋಬೇಡಿ, ಆರಾಮಾಗಿ ನಿದ್ದೆ ಮಾಡಿ, ಒಂದು 12 to 14 hours ಹಾರ್ಡ್ ವರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ರಿಮೈನಿಂಗ್ ಟೈಮ್ ನಿದ್ದೆ ಮಾಡಿ, ಸ್ನಾನ ಮಾಡದೇ ಇದ್ರೂ ನಡೀತದೆ, ಬಟ್ಟೆ ತೊಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳದೇ ಇದ್ರೂ ನಡೀತದೆ. somehow you crack the prelims. Okay, all the best. Thank you.